Hey everybody, it's Julie Quinn here, and I wanted to create another video tutorial, and I want to show you this Benedictine University's CRAAP test. Sorry about the name, it's the name, it's just the acronym, and what it's asking you to actually look for in comparison to where you can find some of this data elsewhere. So imagine I'm a student in this class, and I'm writing a Rogerian essay, and I'm writing it on the death penalty. The categories of evaluation are currency, like how recent was the article submitted, what type of information within the article you're looking at, the importance of that information, the source. This is really important. That lends to your sort of academic ethos. We learned that with the Aristotelian paper. Your credibility, how reliable is the data, and the reason that the information exists. Is it to inform? Is it to persuade? And so on and so forth. So one of the categories here that I'd like to focus on is authority, the source of the information. So the first thing I did was I did death penalty and CNN. I decided to choose this article. It's less than a year old. Also, CNN is in the green space of the media bias chart. So it's a trustworthy space. Now, credibility was one of those areas to consider when you're looking at data on the web, right? Who is the author? So we know the publisher of the website is CNN, but who is this author? It's Quinn and and I mean, I could be mispronouncing his name. I'm trying not to. He's a writer for CNN Digital in Atlanta. He writes about, we've got his featured stories here. But he's not just writing about the death penalty. You'll notice he's writing about, it looks like crime, but he's also writing about storms. So he's not a criminal justice expert. I'm curious, is there a biography of him? I don't see it on the website. So let's search his name and let's see if we can find a biography. What are his credentials, profiles? It just says he's a writer. This makes me a little bit nervous. It's a trustworthy news organization, but he's not an expert on the content. Now, we can find his profile here for some of the articles that he has written. You can probably get in touch with him on Twitter or on perhaps LinkedIn. His articles have been seen in these other places, but he's writing about religion. He's writing about the weather. So when we go back to that Benedictine University CRAAP test, who is the author? Quinn and What are his credentials? He's a reporter, but he does not focus. He's not a reporter. Like, for example, another CNN reporter is Christiane Amanpour, but she specifically reports on like war and politics, very specifically those two that are interrelated. She's much more of a citizen expert because of her work in wartime, where she is on the ground reporting live at the scene, than Quinn and So that's one thing I wanted to remind you of. So newspaper articles can be okay to get like an interesting hook detail, but it's not that shouldn't be your primary source of data. If we go instead to the library databases, I've already searched just recent, remember currency, so within the last couple of years, and the academic journals. Now, the first article I found looks really interesting. It says, explaining the invidious, how race influences capital punishment in America. This is from Cornell Law Review. It was published just last year. So what we want to do is we want to open it because I want to see who these authors are. This is Westlaw Campus Research from Thomson Reuters. We can open up the database. Let me go ahead and relog in here and get this going. I apologize for the delay. So now that we're in the data, it looks like it's a law database, right? So it's pulling up the article. Let's see if we can find it. So I had to search a couple of the words from the article to find it. But once we click on it in this database, we should get the article. Oh my gosh. And we even have a table of contents for the article. We have an author, Sherry Lynn Johnson, and we have the footnote. She's the James and Mark Flanagan Professor of Law from Cornell Law School. So that, if you go back to your authority, who is the author? A professor of law at Cornell, right? At one of, like an Ivy League institution. What are their credentials? They're a professor of law. What are the credentials and other organizational affiliations? Well, Well, if you think about the affiliations, the affiliation is Cornell Law School. Like that's a really sort of high-end tier, one of the most preeminent law schools in the nation. So I know that some of the categories here seem to overlap just a little bit, but if you go back to our CNN author, his affiliation is a good newspaper, but he doesn't focus his work on criminal justice articles. If we go back and we look at our author, let's see if we can find what she focuses her writing on. Just to show you this, one thing we can do is we can skim down and see if she cites herself, because she may cite other articles she's written. 29 Johnson's. As I have argued elsewhere, the decision to grant, okay, so you can see all of her different, she writes specifically, you wouldn't even have to search the web to find like a resume or CV. You can see in this that she talks about all of the different human rights, civil rights, and death penalty cases that she writes about. So this just goes to show you that when you're in the library databases, you can gather this information pretty quickly. You don't even have to often move outside of it. Affiliations will be given for your author. And often you can do a quick search and see, have they published on this topic? This just proves that the library database articles are going to be much higher on the CRAAP test than a newspaper article. So I hope this has been somewhat enlightening. I've only gone over a little bit of the CRAAP test. We'll go over more of it in class together. But I thought that this may help you contextualize the assignment just a little bit more.